Hey, and welcome to the best thing you watched this week. Happy Easter if you celebrate Easter, or if you're on that sort of time where you're on holiday with your kids or family. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Thank you for tuning in to the best thing you watch with Chris from Movies and Munchies and Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. We're back where we're talking about the best thing we watched. Hopefully we have some interesting stories to tell you about our viewing experience this week. Some weeks it's poo, some weeks it's better than poo. And some weeks it's just smelly poo. And on that poo analogy, how are you, Chris?
Well, I'm way better than poo. So that
okay, good.
Yeah, no, that's good. It was a better week of watching. I mean, it was a busy week. Some surprises, both good and bad. So
okay.
That's
yeah. Well, before we dive in, as always, I look forward to the really strange question that you might have for us. Do you have one for us this week?
I do, and I'm really looking forward to your answer here.
Oh no. Okay.
How long could you go without talking?
I don't know, because I think COVID has made everybody very much, a large majority of the people in the first world would learn to be more hermit-like. Everybody's working from home, especially us, we watch stuff. So if we're watching an 8-hour series and we need to get the review out, we can watch that back to back, not speak to anybody for 8 hours. Thing is, the more time you spend alone, the more you start talking to yourself. So I don't know how long, because I might make a friend like Tom Hanks in Castaway with Wilson. Like, Wilson! I'd like to think that I could handle it for a long time, but I think I wouldn't even know. I would just make an imaginary friend and off we go. How long would you last? A long time. Chris likes not talking. That'll be a very boring podcast.
I know. Sorry. Yeah. If you're listening on the audio, I was just staring at Ruben. But I do go. I find myself going long stretches of time, without speaking to anybody. I mean, even when because I'm on a hybrid work schedule. So when I work part of the time from home at my regular job and part of the time in the office. And so there will be times in the office where I can go, if I didn't necessarily have a meeting and I didn't need to go someplace, I could go all day without speaking to anybody. And so it's very weird, and if that's like, I get up typically before anybody in my house does, to go to work, and then to come home. I mean, it could be like 10, 11 hours that I have not spoken to a single person, even myself at that point. I mean, sometimes there are mutterings, I guess, that when I do something dumb or I ask myself a question, things like that. But for the most part, where I have found myself like, I'll start to talk to somebody if I have a meeting after like several hours, and it's like, excuse me, just a second. Let me find my voice here. Yeah.
Does he learn to speak again?
Exactly. But no, I agree that the time of lockdowns and stuff like that, I think in one way have made us more, you're right, more hermit-like. It in some ways it was very refreshing, but on that flip side, I think it has made also people a little more outgoing or more willing to talk in certain aspects because they've become so lonely, become so isolated in certain parts. And that does not mean that I want just random people coming up to me in the grocery store and starting conversations, because those while can be entertaining, are typically not enjoyable.
True. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. If you've just tuned in, Chris is talking about how to spend more time alone and not talk to anybody. Humbug. Thanks for joining us. This week, we are going to attempt to talk about some things with words, because we're not going to be quiet. That'd have been interesting. Again, I guess we could do sign or mime for that, Chris. But yeah, we're going to talk about the best things we watched this week. We're also going to talk about our top 5 Easter films in the podcast section, which I think will be interesting, because when I was doing research for it, I thought, wow, there is a real select what people consider to be Easter. And I guess it depends on where you come from, what's your background, what's your religious tone, what is Easter to you. So I think that we'll take a little bit of a wide berth. Because some people will be like, yeah, but I don't celebrate what you celebrate. And actually, Easter's all about eggs.
Well, yeah. Well, and if you look at the internet, if you ask the internet, what does it think an Easter movie is? That is pretty funny because
it is pretty funny.
I was looking at some of them. And
I just went, no.
How do you, I don't even know.
How does that even get there?
Yeah. Just, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And for our Patreon video, which we've been enjoying doing, we're going to do 1 minute movie reviews, one of our favorites. We're doing one each without saying the title and without giving the actors away. So I'm going to try and guess yours within that minute, and you're going to try and guess mine within that minute. And we're going to see if we can do a movie review in a minute, which will be tough for us because we do like to talk when we start talking about movies.
Yeah. Well, that's I find myself, like, as much as I try and limit sometimes the words that I use, I then get excited about it, you know? And
yes.
You just,
yeah.
So there will be a hard cutoff.
Yes, there has to be. We'll time each other. Yep. So do join us there if you want to see a cornucopia of interesting, different, weird, the bearded ones, the Patreon. The links are in the descriptions and probably in the comment sections as well. But for now, let's start with the first best thing we watched this week. Would you like to kick us off, Chris?
Sure. Yeah. So I have been watching this series. It's coming out weekly on HBO Max. It's an HBO Max original. It's called Tokyo Vice. And it takes place at the in like 1999 to 2002-ish, something like that. And it's about an American journalist who's been living in Japan, who then works the crime beat for a massive Tokyo newspaper. And he uncovers just some oddities in doing this. There's a story that really grabs hold of him that has to do with like loan sharks and suicides. And his brain is working and he begins to see connections, but he can't totally see connections. He's up against the rules of the newspaper where they're basically, it's not like journalism like you would expect it to be, where they don't want, there's no investigative part of that. It's, you go to the press conference that the police do. They give you the press release. They read the press release. There are no questions. And you write in the newspaper what the press release says. It's very weird from that standpoint.
Okay.
It's based off of a real life American journalist who lived in Tokyo, who worked for a Japanese newspaper, some of his memoir type of thing. Stars Ansel Elgort, Ken Watanabe, and it involves the Yakuza also. And yeah, now so the first 3 episodes dropped 2 weeks ago. And you've got Michael Mann, who directed the first episode. He's
he
also
likes the Vice. Miami Vice.
Exactly. Yeah. He's an executive producer on the show. Daniel, what's his name? Destin, who's the guy who directed Shang-Chi?
Yeah, I know who you mean. Damn it.
Who I'm talking about. Yeah. So he's also an executive producer. At one point, I mean, IMDb has some screwy things with their crediting.
That's true.
Because it shows him as directing like several of the episodes, and so far I haven't seen his name attached as the director. Anyway,
Destin Daniel Cretton.
That's it. Thank you. Okay. Yes, Destin Daniel Cretton. He, so he's an executive producer also. I mean, the show is beautiful because it's both gritty and clean all at the same time. So you have like this underworld, and you have like a lot of nighttime things where weird stuff can happen, but yet you're in this society that's very proper. And so you have that mixture there, harsh neon lights sometimes. Anyway, so the first 3 episodes dropped. It's like almost an hour long each episode. So it was a chunk of time. Now those first 3 episodes I enjoyed them, but I wasn't like drop everything. I am like absolutely 100% hooked on this show. I mean, I was getting more invested, especially by the middle of episode 2 and then into episode 3. I was like, okay, I see where this is going a little bit. I don't know everything. I don't know the trajectory of that, but I'm getting more invested in the characters. It's just the storytelling is now hooking me. Well, episodes 4 and 5 dropped this week. So good. Oh my goodness.
Is it a different pace then? Or what's made you go, yeah, this is awesome?
I think some more of the storytelling has opened up. It is a little faster paced, but it's still very patient in its storytelling. We get to see more of the investigation into the journalistic side of this. And what's fun is that Elgort's character, Jake Edelstein, he has to befriend cops so that he can try and figure out how the relationship works, how he can get information, how he can get scoops, any of the exclusives, anything like this. And so he's working those angles. So you have some of that, but then you have, again, the Yakuza side. And we're watching this there's a main Yakuza family, and the cops also have to try and keep the peace. That's more of what they're doing than solving any crimes. They're trying to keep Yakuza families from warring. And so it's way different than what you would see like in American,
Because Michael Mann's is executive producer. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any feel of his sort of filmmaking in it? So I'm talking about the Miami Vice movie, Collateral. Are there any sort of action sequences like that that's gritty, or is it not reliant on any action? Because when you say Yakuza, I expect some sort of hard, gritty action.
Yeah, no, it's very subdued in the action. Now in these latest 2 episodes, 4 and 5, there was a little bit of action, and there is a scene towards the end, I think it was of episode 5, where there was like a fight type of scene. But
so what carries the show then?
It's all of the human drama. So you have Jake doing the mystery of trying to uncover this thing. So there is this low-lying mystery of him trying to figure out how all of these things are connected, because you have these suicides happening, and they seem to be tied to a loan company, something like that. But, so he's trying to figure out that. Then you have on the Yakuza side, you have this guy who he's not entry level, but he's certainly not top. I mean, he's just he's like an enforcer level. So he's much lower on the totem pole. But watching him, get into this role, and you see in his eyes and in his mannerisms, the things that he's asked to do, he doesn't want to do them. He maybe not be built for that, like emotionally or mentally, even though he thought he wanted that lifestyle, but now he's like, I don't know, but he doesn't want to totally give it up. And so you see a lot of this conflict. And so the human drama that's within there. And then you have another character she's an American who is been living in Japan for quite some time. And just her story and how she interacts and intersects with both Jake and Sato, this guy from the Yakuza. And it interweaves. I love that each episode is like an hour long. And so HBO drops 2 episodes at a time until I think the final episode. And I've got the screeners. I just haven't looked to see how long that last episode is. It may be longer than 1 hour. But so you're watching like a, feature-length movie every time. And that's so
really
good.
Places you in the world then.
It really does, yeah. And I've had some people comment that they've lived in Tokyo for a while, and they're like, "Oh, well, that was really accurate," or "That's how I got some of those vibes," and it makes me miss living there. And so, yeah, it is shot on location also, which I think is also very important for this. Yeah.
Yeah, this wasn't one I was sure about because just the look of it wasn't something that looked pretty exciting, was going to grip me. You know, sometimes you just look at something, you judge it by its cover.
Yeah.
But it does sound very interesting. Whether people have time to invest themselves in such a long... how many episodes is it?
8 total.
So it's 8-hour-long episodes, probably. It takes a couple of episodes to get into, but then you say you're pretty much invested into the storyline and the characters. I mean, a plus is Michael Mann. He knows how to tell a story from the human perspective, which is probably why they got him involved in that. And then Ken Wantambi, I just, you know, you can put him in anything and I'll watch him.
So good.
He's great. He's an amazing presence. So I'd watch it just for that. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Good recommendation. I think I'll put it on and then see if I can get into it. If it grips me.
Yeah, I do.
More than a couple.
Yeah. Give it some time. Don't judge it by just the first episode, even though there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't want anybody to think that like, oh no, the first episode is bad. It's not bad. It was just I think it took me, at least me, a little bit of time to get sucked into what was going on.
And to be fair, most people aren't consuming the amount that we do. So it could be said that we're a little bit saturated. So something has to be really grip us to be good. So there is always that contention. I think most people would choose now and again, flick through HBO and say, okay, well, let me try this. And probably will go, yeah, that was pretty decent.
Great point. Yeah.
So, continuing off the trend of last week where I mentioned a YouTube channel that I said was one of the best things that I watched. Yeah. I'm going for another one. This will be a quick one. There is a channel called Viva La Dirt League, and these guys have been working hard for years. I've been following them for since 2011. So they've been doing it. They've got over 1 billion views now, though. So they're doing all right. How do I explain what they do? They do skits, but they do skits with, I guess their expertise in filmmaking is really good. So they'll do something like, if you've ever seen Clerks, yeah, it's that sort of small scale with a number of characters on screen. They'll do that. And then they started branching out into what games are like in real life. So they did Battlegrounds. And so it's real life humans and what the laws actually are. They did NPC Man, which is a continuing series that they do. So they have this little town and people have little adventures. They like 2 to 4 minute. And they really put a lot of effort in. You can see it's like it's for YouTube, but it's high grade. And so recently they started doing this series, a Dark Souls series called Souls Logic. And so it just explains to you like what the Souls games are actually like how you think you're good and you just keep dying and dying and dying. And, you know, all the hurt and pain that all Souls players appreciate. But they've started a new one called Witcher Logic, which is all based on The Witcher. Now, if you know me, I'm a massive fan of Witcher. I have the books, I have the shirts, I have the games, I have the physical card game of Gwent. So this was like, okay, I'm down for your premiere. They actually did a 36-minute kind of story film recently, which they raised something like $1 million or more, and they produced a film like that was massive and really good, massive in scale, reached like 4 million views. So they've reached a level now where they're just good at everything they produced, funny, great acting. So their first episode for The Witcher Logic, I think, is called, let's get the title right. There was a trailer for it. Excuse me. Oh, there it is. Overloading with quests in The Witcher. If you've ever played The Witcher, you will know that you can go to a board anywhere in town and there's a number of quests on the board like you do in every, and you just click and click and you just click A and collect all of the, and they just play into that. And you have a couple of other guys waiting on the side going, are you going to leave some for us? And he's like, there's someone in the town of something and there's a weird spirit. I should help. and you have the bard off to the right saying, but do you really need that? You've already got 6 on the go. And then you read the next one. This unicorn is in dire need of a hero. And so it just plays on the whole world of The Witcher. And they're going to be continuing doing that. But I highly recommend them as a channel. But also, if you love games and you love movies and you love acting and skits, it's quick little bite-sized pieces. You just get into your Dark Souls, your Dank Souls. But with The Witcher Season 3 now starting to film, which we've seen some set photos, which is really exciting. If you're not in the world yet, this might give you an idea of what The Witcher is like, but a more comedic moment. And their costumes and design are excellent. So, Viva La Dirt League. I think you will love that.
Nice. So how long have you been watching them?
Years, like 3-4 years. They've just gone from strength to strength, and I'm just like, yeah, these guys, man. They highly recommend their short film called Balin's Route. So funny. You will laugh your head off, like guaranteed.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So that's a different recommendation there for you.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched anything from them, so I'll check them out. That'll be fun.
Now you have that. I'm kind of jealous because you can kind of get to just watch all this stuff for the first time. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Next up on my list is one that I think we both have been excited to talk about, and I'm going to stay away from all kinds of spoilers because it just needs to be. But it's Outer Range. And this is the Amazon series with Josh Brolin and Lily Taylor and Imogen Poots, which is still an awesome name. Yeah, just a great name. Will Patton. The modern Western sci-fi. And I got to say, last week when we briefly talked about it, I hadn't seen any of it yet. And you had watched, I think, the first 2 episodes. And I was blown away, really. I mean, so many questions arise after watching this.
Which is why I didn't review it. I have no idea what's going on, Chris. No, I loved it.
Right. I mean, if you take, so Josh Brolin, a rancher who's, there's kind of a land dispute between a neighboring ranch, but there's this anomaly on his land. He also has a strange visitor who comes out of the blue, and she's a little weird. There's family drama that not only within Josh Brolin's family, but then intermixed between the 2 disagreeing families, I guess, if that's the best way to call it. I don't know, the warring almost, but not necessarily warring. Anyway, so all of that. That storytelling is very compelling, and then you mix it with this beautiful cinematography. Oh my goodness. Just the imagery that we get to see. And I mean, Josh Brolin he's fairly quiet in a lot of this too. You know, I mean, he's more staring off into the landscape there. And there's a lot of theories about what could be. Some people in my comments had raised a couple, and I'm like, ooh, I hadn't thought about that yet. But I like where your brain is going with this idea, and just how it, the show I think is playing with, nope, don't want to talk about that. Okay, so I get, maybe I shouldn't have chosen this one to talk about, but no, it really is. It was one of the best things I watched this week because it was so good. Like my wife is, she's less into sci-fi than I am. Okay. Much less. There are things that she enjoys, but that's not a go-to genre for her at all. This one, she's like, can you not watch anything else for review? Because we need to watch the next couple episodes of Outer Range. I mean, she's fully hooked, which is great because it speaks to the good drama that it is also, the mystery and everything that is raised within this show. Do you want to say anything about it? Nope. Okay. Then if you have not checked out yet, Outer Range on Amazon Prime, do so. It's 2 episodes a week. They're like 40 minutes ish each episode, and so it's a good chunk of time, which I like. Again, if you're going to do these weekly releases, this is where I think you should do. I like having either really long episodes or a couple of them to progress the story along, because, you know, there are two, like, I'll get off on a small tangent here. Slow Horses on Apple. I'm loving the show, but this last week's episode, I just felt was filler. And so, you know, 40 minutes of, you didn't really do anything. You didn't progress the story forward too much. That bothers me, you know, because now I have to wait a whole nother week versus giving me 2 episodes. So if a portion of that within there is maybe filler or it's not as much, that's okay, because I still have more to watch of this. So, okay, rant over there, tangent over. Outer Range, yes, watch that.
Yeah, I mean, anything I want to say is like almost spoiler territory. It just that whole everything. I want to talk about this character, but that leads into that moment. You literally can't say anything. It's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted, and I love the family. I'm rooting for them. That's all I can say, really.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely. Talking about beautiful cinematography, Chris.
Yes.
The most beautiful film I have ever seen, and I was racking my brains thinking, have I seen anything more beautiful than this? The Northman. My goodness. I have never, ever seen a film as beautiful as this film. But I do have to put a caveat, and then I will start the caveat with my experience at the cinema.
Oh, no.
So I went with my friend, John, who we've had on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to go to the London press screening. In fact, we were going to go to the London premiere, but he was ill with COVID, so we couldn't go. Bummer. So I went down to Portsmouth, my old knocking ground where I used to live. Gumworth Keys. I can give Chris a picture so everybody can see what that looks like. Very upmarket. Yeah, I can't afford to live there. Anyway, nice cinema. Very busy Easter weekend. I mean, really busy. The cinema was busy as well, which is good for the film, right? Because there's not been many screens for this particular title. People need to see this. It's a Robert Eggers film. The thing is, when you go into a Robert Eggers film, you need to know you're watching a Robert Eggers film.
Yeah.
Because we had 4, I think, probably 18, 19, 24 young men next to us. And they were like kind of chatting during the trailers and the adverts. Yeah, it's fine on their phones. That's fine. But when the film comes on, right, the etiquette is everything goes off, you go quiet, you experience the film together in the zeitgeist of everybody experiencing it together. These guys talked probably for the first hour of the movie between themselves, loud enough to get really irritating where I would go, guys. And then the woman in front of me turned around after they wouldn't shut up and said, I didn't come here to listen to you chat. And she's like, you please shut the hell up. You know, she was angry enough.
Yeah.
And so they did. But the guy also has a luminous watch. One of those that are light up.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually I had to say, could you please tell your friend to sort out his watch? It's like literally blinding me in the eye. And when it's black, right?
Oh, yeah.
That shines. That really is distracting. But the thing is, you have to be of a certain mentality and probably, I'm going to say smart and probably offend a few people, but you have to have an ability to think, maybe analyze a film a little bit with Robert Eggers' film.
Yeah.
Because he says stuff with visual. He doesn't tell a story with dialogue lines, really. It's visual and it's audio based. So like score and music work together with the visuals. That is the story that you're going to get. They obviously watched the trailer, and I think this is where the trailer does it a bit of a disservice because it comes off a bit like a Viking action movie.
Okay.
It isn't that at all. There are action sequences in it, and when done, they are beautiful and exciting and violent, as you'd expect. But that is not what it's about. This is a revenge story, and it's the journey from the kid at the beginning to where he ends up at the end, and you're like, okay. And that's, it's way more contained than you expect it to be. Like, it really concentrates on Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Yep. It follows his journey, really, and the promise he makes at the beginning, about his family, the honor that he's going to keep up his father's promise, and he's going to go and get revenge on basically whatever happens at the beginning of the movie. But these kids, this obviously wasn't the film. So there's two audiences for this film. One is probably people thinking, I'm going to go watch something that like Netflix Vikings, we've had a cornucopia of Viking series at the moment, Last Kingdom even. They're thinking that sort of thing. It's not that. This is The Lighthouse, but with Vikings. And so you have to adjust your mindset. So I think, Chris, you're going to love it. This is up your street. Like, the Green Knight sort of visuals, right? But seriously, every single frame that you look at, it feels like a dessert feast for your eyeballs. You kind of don't know where to look. In my review, I was talking about the blacks. There's no grain in the blacks. It's just dark.
Wow.
So when you have the characters, I honestly don't know how they did it. So when you have the characters, they stick out so much because the black is like perfect black at night. I'm like, how did they do that? I would love to know the lens, and I want to know like the behind the scenes, because I was just blown away. There are a couple of moments that I wanted to laugh at because there were moments that reminded me of other films, and guaranteed when you get to the end, because it's the first thing John and I said to each other when we left the cinema, was a reference from a certain franchise, and I don't want to give it away because then that you'll understand that. But honestly, I was blown away by the spiritual journey of it, because Vikings are very spiritual people, all with and that plays a big part in this film. I don't think people are expecting that either. There's lots of chanting, there's lots of singing, those Viking kind of songs. There are literally lots of vision sort of moments, where they go on a quest or something, or you see something that influences their journey. And so it always plays a part of it's like he was, I mean, I'm sure he wasn't, but it's like after making The Lighthouse, he took an acid trip and this is what came out of it. James Cameron said he dreamed Terminator. It feels like someone dreamed this version of a Viking story, and this is what came out of it. It's very trippy. It feels like you need to watch it a number of times, because for the first time, you can enjoy the spiritual revenge story of it. And the next, you want to watch it just for the performances. And then the third time, you just kind of want to see what else you missed. But also, I don't want to go back and watch it straight away, because it stews in your brain for a bit, and you need to give the film some time to digest in your cinema head. It's going to be one to talk about. I've avoided giving any spoilers, I think, because I know it's not even out in the US yet. I will say that you'll probably be disappointed with the amount of screen time some characters or actors have on it, because they're scattered throughout. And they don't get that much screen time. But every single actor that gets screen time, you want more from them. So he's obviously pulled out the best. When William Dafoe's on screen, you're like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing he's ever done. And if you know any film William Dafoe's in, this is the best thing he's ever done, because he's just a phenomenal actor. But also Ethan Hawke, he doesn't have much time on screen, but he's excellent. Nicole Kidman, few minutes scattered throughout, but when she's on it, she's amazing. Skarsgård could play the Hulk without CG.
Whoa.
He's really built up. Like, his shoulders are massive.
Whoa.
Like, not even... Like, he was big before, right? Like, he's a big, buff dude. Yeah. My goodness.
Well, you've done a really good job of not spoiling it, because I haven't seen a trailer. I'm going to see it on Thursday night. And, yeah, I have not seen anything other than the movie poster, and a couple of stills of the red carpet. So I've deliberately stayed away from everything.
I would also stay away from the trailer. Continue to do that.
Well, if somebody may die if they're going to talk in the theater and be like that, because that is just. I'm sorry.
One of your most anticipated films, surely.
Oh, yeah.
This year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And and it bothers me anytime, regardless of what the movie is, when you have a whole bunch of people come in. We saw, what movie was it? It was kind of an art housey film. Saw it last year sometime, because it wasn't even at one of the big chain theaters. It was one of the art house theaters that we have in town, the art house theater that we have in town. And it was a whole bunch of, I would call them like the bros They show up early. They
exactly the time.
They have way too many cocktails beforehand. It was really enjoyable listening to them talk about movies because I want to say maybe it was an A24 film. I don't know, but it's the whole fanboy type of thing and the discussion that goes on. And if you listen from an outside perspective, it's such a pretentious type of conversation that's going on.
For sure.
And it's not even about appreciation of film or the art. It's just about like they like the films that come from the studio, which are okay, awesome. That's great. There's no problem with that. And I agree with a lot of the films are outstanding. But when you elevate the studio above the work.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing, isn't it? Yeah.
What do you?
It's just a studio. They're not making the film. They bought the film.
Yeah. They're putting the money behind it. Now, you have some great people who are like, yes, that's what we want our name attached. Okay, good. But so, and I agree. Like Robert Eggers, I mean, that is he is a thinking director. You don't go into this. I mean, it is entertaining. I'm not entertaining by any means. But there's so much more within the story and within what you see that needs to be examined and, dissected or at least just pondered upon. And so if I get a whole bunch of brainless people in there who think they're just going to see some action, Viking thing, well, if they start talking, they are going to see some action and Viking things because it's going to come from a grave.
I mean, I also understand the argument that it's pretentious twaffle. Like it totally could be seen that because it's so artsy, it's so vibrant, and every still seems like they're telling a story that you could be like, but can you just get to the point? But that's not this type of film at all. So if you go in with that mindset, you might think, what the hell did I just watch? But if you go in like, I'd seen The Witch or The Lighthouse, you'd be like, I know what this is. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, that it's, I wouldn't classify like his movies as pretentious for pretentious sake. You know what I mean? Like he does a different type of film. And
he does,
okay, fair enough. So when you go like Michael Bay, you know what I mean? Michael Bay does a certain type of film. It is what it is. I mean, you don't go into a Michael Bay film thinking that you're going to get very deep exposition and
think you're going to get The Lighthouse. Yeah,
exactly. No problem. That he has his genre and his niche that he goes for, and it works some of the time. Same with this, So yeah, okay, good, sweet,
yeah. So what's next on your list?
Okay, so last week I had talked about how we stumbled upon a show, my wife and I, called Derry Girls. After just terrible poo watching, just needed a win.
And you said how terrible Derry Girls was.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely trash. I couldn't stand it. It was the worst show ever. No,
it's just awful.
So it debuted this week, season 3, series 3 on Channel 4 in the UK. Episode 1.
Or did they drop everything?
No, they just did one episode.
Right.
And it's it was good. Like there were a lot of funny moments to it, and there were it maintains a lot of what I liked about the show. There were some grating moments in this episode, and it's only 22 minutes, something like that long. Then plus with
they're really not long.
No, they're not. It is very short attention span theater, which is good. But it still retains the ridiculous humor that they infuse in there that somehow works. And then the dry sarcasm from certain characters, and I love that because it almost makes me, while the central 5 of these 4 girls and 1 guy, their antics, they're funny, sometimes annoying, but I mean, they're the main story driver, but it's the side things that really make me laugh out loud. And there's this one character that you're introduced in the first 2 seasons who's a relative of the main protagonist. And this dude his mannerisms and his character has a trait to him, which makes him wildly annoying and immensely hilarious all at the same time because of, I mean, it's very funny because of his personality and his quirk. And so they use that in this premiere episode for series 3. There's also a guest star, which you hear the voice before you see the face, and unmistakable. It was great. It was so good. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was, again, one of these things that it was just a small little win. You know what I mean? Put a smile on her face for 20 something minutes. I didn't expect anything deep from it. Nothing deep was, uncovered in this. It was just a really good time of watching TV and laughing, ridiculousness and everything. So you haven't started.
No, I haven't. It's on my watch list, on my mammoth list of things to watch.
Yeah.
It's slowly getting higher on the list, though.
it's I really want to know what you think of the show, especially because you're much closer in geography to everything.
Geography, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's time to talk about one-worded TV series and love on it, but also what the hell. And this is all thanks to you, Chris.
Uh-oh.
Because you said you should watch this. And we were like, okay. Now we've seen 7 episodes out of the 10. We're completely sucked in. But I have a really, really worrying feeling in my tummy that this series is lost. Like 100% lost. Obviously, I'm talking about From. All one-worded titles now give me worries. It also is from the creators of Lost. So, From Lost. See what I did there?
Yes, yeah, very clever.
Yeah. And it's incredible. So for those that missed Chris's talking last week, I think you talked about From, or you reviewed it at least.
I did review it. I'm not sure if we spoke about it. Maybe I did. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, there is a town that people can't escape out of, and people come from wherever, and the people get stuck in here, and I don't know how much I can talk about it without spoiling stuff. So people are stuck in a town. You can't escape it. It feels very much like they're probably dead already. That's my brain. But the more you think about it, the more the episodes you watch, the less you know. Because I remember I'd watched the first couple of episodes and I was chatting to you about all my theories. And you were like, that's an interesting theory, Ruben. Yeah, go with that. And then later on, I'm like, yeah, it's not that, is it? Because all of these things are happening. And the more the thing is, it just keeps you asking more questions, but it doesn't give you any damn answers at all. And so I'm like, I mean, it's very clever because you are trying to think of a way out of it. Like it places you in there with the characters and the danger that there is. Okay, so I haven't explained that. There is danger in this. You can't go out at night. You lock your windows and your doors. Do not speak to the things that are outside because they will eat and dismember you in the most vicious, horrible, and slow way as well. Intelligent, whatever they are, because we can't nail that down either.
Yep.
We don't know anything. The more I think I understand what they are, the less I understand what they are. Whenever I come up with a theory for the show, it just, the next episode will like, yeah, it's not that. Which is why I think they don't know. The writers don't know. They haven't written it. They're writing it as they go. They're waiting to see if this is popular and people pick it up. And it's really entertaining and it's really acted well. And every story episode is like, puts you on the edge of your seat. You want to click over to the next one. It gives you bad dreams. You know, the monsters are really creepy. The CG on the monsters is really good. They've done a fantastic job. But what the hell, man? If this is bad, if they're all dead, Chris, you've got a lot to answer for.
Well, okay. They address that in one of the episodes.
They do address that.
And so, one of the characters actually says, are we dead? Are we, and there's a good response that the other person gives who's been there for a while. And I like that. My problem is though, that the response only works for the characters. It doesn't work for us as an audience, because if I'll just say it. I don't think it's a spoiler because it's logic more than anything. It's like, you know what, if the character says, "Are we dead?" And you're like, well, if we are, what's the difference? We're still experiencing what we're experiencing. So whether or not we know we're dead, we're still going through this. Okay, fair enough. I can, I think that's a great response, because from a character point of view, if you're still experiencing it, I think if you're having a dream, you're still experiencing that dream. Right. So in this, if you're dead, the problem becomes, at least for me, is that from the audience standpoint, if you're dead, then I'm just watching you go through something that doesn't ultimately matter. And therefore,
exactly.
This
is your purgatory or your hell.
Yeah.
Because there are things that lead me to think that it could be that because of things that have been placed in the series.
Yes.
And things that shouldn't work, like magic power.
Yes.
Let's just give that as an example, shouldn't be there. There are also moments though that they try and cover themselves. At the beginning, there's a crash. There's one couple in their RV. They enter this town and there's a crash and some people get injured, and that's basically how their journey starts in this. And later on, she's writing one of the questions, trying to figure out logically, are we alive? Mm-hmm. And the person that responds to her says something like, well, you crashed after you went past the border, so therefore you must be alive. So logically, they're trying to tell us that everybody's alive in this show and give us some hope that we're not just watching some iffy writers like, oh, I know, I can't figure out an ending and they're dead. Because that's what they did to us in Lost. And if I ever see the creator of that, I'm going to slap him with a fish and get banned from Twitter again.
Well, and that's like in Lost, the thing that pissed me off the most about that is because after season 1 happened, there was an interview in Entertainment Weekly where they asked, are the characters dead? Are they in purgatory?
I didn't know that.
And they said, no, they're not. Don't frickin' lie to me like that.
That means they didn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would be much more better with the answer of, we don't want to reveal anything that has to do with the plot like that. That's a major plot point that we're not willing to divulge. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But when you say no,
but then that makes us go, okay, so what is it? That makes it more exciting.
Yeah. And then when it comes back around that they are dead, it's like, you lied to me. Then, this, I'm very curious to see what you think after the final two or three episodes that you have left to watch. For me, like, I enjoyed the series as a whole. I thought it was really good. I mean, there's urgency to it. There's tension. There's terror within there. I mean, you're right. Those the things, the monster story is really good, and there's a seduction level to it, and not sexually seductive. It's just a trait of them is seduction, and I like what that does. You know, for the other characters and stuff. But there are so many questions that continue to be raised that the series introduces, and I genuinely do not think they know where they're going as of yet.
No, I believe that too. So one of the characters mentioned that there could be a pocket universe, which I guess could be a thing, but they're definitely saying in the story that each of these people have been chosen for a reason, not randomly selected because of what is revealed in the story. So what the hell? They need to give, I mean, it's a bit rubbish. You need to give your audience something solid. Not just more questions.
Well, and when you get to the finale, let me know if you caught any answers, because I didn't. Like, all I caught were more questions, and that's what bothered me. Like, and I don't want, like, if you're going to give me a mysterious show, don't give me all the answers. I don't want that, because then there's no reason to watch the second season. But give me something. Give me just that knowledge that shows.
But even Lost did that. Like, they gave us, the numbers come from the bunker and you have to keep pushing. They gave us that in the first season.
And you see that bunker, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to see more of that. Excuse me, at that point, you know what I mean? And that drives you then to the next series, because you're like, ooh, what does this mean now? I don't have, I mean, I've got all of my questions are, what does this mean?
Yeah.
So I don't.
I mean, saying that, I still don't know what the black smoke was in Lost.
It's been a while. I don't remember now. Yeah, I don't. It was Bosch, because he was Titus Welliver. So,
okay, so yeah, that was something I'll just flag up. It was definitely one of the best things I watched, but also one of the most frustrating things.
Yeah, I would love to know if you've watched From in parts of it or the whole thing. Let us know in the comments. What do you like? What do you think is going? Where do you think the series is going? Where do you hope it's going? That's because there's a lot of theories that you could build from it, and I think a lot of them can make sense. Especially because we haven't been given much answers or any answers, so it's really open palette there to do whatever. Oh,
well, that's my 3 for today. What else you got, Chris?
That's all I got. Also,
so, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, hey, we thank you for watching, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday. Me, Chris, with Movies and Munchies. You can always tweet at us at Best We Watched. And don't forget also about Patreon. It's patreon.com/thebeardedones, and new content every single week going in there. So if you join now, you've got like more than a handful of videos to check out. In our audio only portion, the extended version of this show, we're going to be covering some entertainment news, some of the things that we are looking forward to in the coming week. And as Ruben had mentioned also, we're doing our top 5 Easter-ish movies, which will be interesting because, depending on how you view Easter and what Easter is to you, and then also depending on how the internet classifies an Easter movie, I think that's also, but we would love to have you there wherever you listen to podcasts, right? So there's Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, probably more than that. Yeah. So rate and review us there as well. And thank you again for watching. We'll see you next week.